For our final example, we are going to analyze a moderated mediation that is model number 14 in the Hayes templates. And in this particular one, the mediator and the moderator are combining or interacting to predict the DV. So we have an interaction or a moderation on the B path. So these researchers published this study in JPSP, the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, in 2003, and that was the time that moderated mediation was a very new technique still. And so they graciously turned over their original data for other researchers to practice analyzing and learning the technique. This was before process, but there were other ways to analyze it. So we'll be doing it the easier way in process. So what the researchers believed, as social psychologists often do, they did an experiment in the lab and they primed their participants in a couple of ways. The first way was a morality prime, and the second prime was a power prime. And so the way they did this is they brought people into the lab, and under the guise of a quote-unquote language skill test, they put the participants up to a task to construct sentences from various words that they provided for them. And so in the morality prime, or condition, they gave participants words such as honest, trustworthy, helpful, cooperative, reliable, etc. And then in the power prime, they gave participants words to construct sentences that were things like self-assured, self-reliant, winning, autonomous, powerful, etc. And they predicted that depending on what condition those participants were in, they would have expectations that a partner that they would perform a task with later would either compete against them or cooperate with them in that task. So they found that the morality prime participants overwhelmingly believed that their partner would cooperate with them. However, the participants primed with the power, in that condition, they overwhelmingly believed that their partner would compete with them. Okay, so that was the mediator. And then in turn, those expectations would shape how the participant behaved in the actual task. When they were put in a situation with a partner, how would they react? And in that task, if they believed the partner would compete, they would also compete. If they believed the partner would cooperate, then they would do the same. So that was the DV. So the DV was assessing the participant's actual behavior. So we have this binary variable for condition on the IV that led to a continuous moderator, the expectations of competing versus cooperating, and then a continuous DV, the actual behavior manifested in the task. Now on the B path, we have this moderator, and the moderator was called social value orientation, so it was an individual difference variable. And it really supposed to reflect how the participant viewed others versus themselves. So someone with a high social value orientation would be inclined toward others, be inclined toward pro-social behavior, thinking of others. And the person with a low social value orientation would be more inclined toward self, protecting the self, and advancing oneself. And so they found that this moderator, what it did was for the high social value orientation folks, the relationship held as the researchers thought it would, such that the person only competed when they expected their partner to compete as well, and they cooperated when they expected the partner to cooperate. So what they were doing was they were mirroring their partner's behavior or their expected behavior. And so that was for the high social value folks. But for the low social value folks who are more self-inclined, they found that these folks would compete regardless of what they expected their partner to do. So they would always compete. It was like a default response. So it did not matter what they expected their partner to do in the task. They were always going to compete because they were focused on themselves. So those were the hypotheses, and we have the data, so I will do a screencast in an upcoming segment and demonstrate the step-by-step process for analyzing this type of model.